So now we are going to move and create our checkout view. Let's see how it will look. So if I go to my basket here, I have all my orders, and if I click on place an order, I will see my checkout view, which basically I need to tell what type of payment I want. If I want to add a tip, then I see the total, and then I confirm my order. So we're going to first build this view here. As you can see, we have a navigation controller here. We have a title. Then we have, this is actually a picker view. And then you have different options to pick from here. And then we have again a text and again a picker view, which looks like a UI segmented controller, but in SwiftUI this is a picker view, just for a different style. We are choosing how many % of tips we want to leave, and again we have a text view here, and then we have a different section here with a button inside of it. So let's go ahead and start designing our user interface. I'm going to create a new SwiftUI file and call this checkout view. And let's close the left panel and start our canvas. Right, for our checkout view to work, first we need to have an access to our basket, because the items in our basket have the value in them, and we need this total value in order to calculate our total amount plus the tip. So let's get hold of our basket, and we say add observed item, actually observed object, var and we initialize a basket listener. Now we have access to our basket listener, which means we get the most recent basket item accessible in our checkout view. Okay, the next thing we need to do is to create this picker view. So for the picker view to work, we need to have the options it should display to the user. So let's create them. We say static let, and then we have payment types is equals, and it's going to be array of strings, and the first type is going to be cash, and second type is going to be let's do it credit card. You can have other options here if you want, maybe a bonus card from your coffee shop or something similar. While we are at this, let's create an options for our tips as well. So static let tip amount is equals to, let's say 10%, 15%, 20%, or 0. And then we need a variable to actually hold the value our user has chosen in our pickers. So the first one is choosing the card type, and the second one is choosing the percentage of the tips. So we are going to create two variables, and here we are going to use at state private var payment type is equals, so by default our payment type is going to be 0, which means our first item in our array, which is cash in our case. And then we say at state private var, and this is going to be tip amount, and we're going to set this by default to be 1, which is 15% from our array. Remember, it's 0-based array. Okay, and finally I need to put another variable at state, which is going to help us to show our notification. So when I click on confirm order, we want to see this alert controller, and we need this state variable in order to check if the alert is currently showing or no. So we say at state private var, and we call this showing payment alert, and by default this is going to be false. So why we are using a state in front of the variables is because whenever we change any of these variables here of this tree, we want our user interface to be refreshed. So this is what basically the state tells to our compiler. Okay, having all this, we can start coding, but one thing more we need to do here is a variable that will be calculating our total value here. So let's create a var, call this total price, and this is going to be a double. And let's initialize it. So we say let total is equals, and now we are going to access our basket listener to get the total of our basket. Remember, our basket listener has this order basket, and order basket has a variable called total, which returns the total price of the items inside of the basket. So we can access that. So I say total is equals, and we say basket listener dot order basket dot total, and then we are going to say let tip value, so we need to calculate how much tip we are going to leave, is equals. So we take our total price and we're going to divide it by 100, and we're going to make it times, and then we need to see how much our user has chosen from our tip amount. So if I say self dot tip amount, tip amounts, which is our array here, so we need to choose which one of these our user has chosen, and this is the number that we are going to change when our user selects something. So this is an array, so we access, and the key is going to be our tip amount. And for this to work, because this is an array of integers and our total is double, we need to convert this to double. So I'm going to say double and just put this into parentheses. And once we have this done, we can return it. So we say return, and then I will take my total and add my tip value to it. And this will return our total price, including the tip that we have added. I think the self should, let's see. Okay, so let's resume. Nothing in our user interface will change. I just needed to put the S capital for some reason. Xcode was complaining about it. All right, and the next thing we are going to do is, now that we have all our variables here ready, we are going to build our user interface. So we are going to create a form, and our form is going to have sections. And currently we are going to have 3 sections. So if I go here, this is my first section, this is my second section, and this is my third section. So I will have a form, and here I'm going to create my first section, which is going to have a picker. So let's create a picker view. And in order to create a picker view, we are going to provide a selection, which is a binding, and then a label and the content. The selection, which is binding, here we are going to provide what we want to change as a variable when our picker is changed. So we have our payment type, which is here. So I will copy it and paste it here. And remember, we need a $sign in front of it because this is a binding variable. Then we have our label, and let's call this text. And I'm going to say, how do you want to pay? And content, let's just delete this from here and create our curly braces. And here we are going to go through all the items in our array. So I'm going to say for each, and then let's create our for each. We say 0, and we want to go through self.paymenttypes.count, and we want to go through all the items we have in our payment types array. And what we want to do is just to create a text, and my text is going to be self.paymenttypes, and let's say $0, because this is our key here. And now you can see that we have a section here of our form, and then we have the label, how do you want to pay? And by default, the selected one is cash. So if I click, let's zoom out. If I click on play, once this is loaded, I will be able to click on this, and this will take me to the options, which doesn't happen. I guess it's because of our canvas here. Okay, let's write the code, and once we are done, we are going to test this on a simulator. This is done. What we are going to do is to create a second section. Let's put here end of section, and let's create a new section, and this section is going to have a header, and my header is going to be text. And let's put a header, add a tip. And the content is going to be inside. So if we jump again to our ready application, this is the section header. You can see it says add a tip here. And inside our section, we are going to have another picker view. So I say picker, and let's create our picker, which is going to have a selection binding will be our tip amount. And again, we need to put $sign, tip amount. Label is going to be and let's put our text. And call this percentage and double quotes to close this. And now we are going to put our content. And here we want to go through all the tip amounts we have in our array. So again, we are using for each loop here. I'm going to go from 0, and we're going to count our tips array. So we say self.tipamounts.count, and we're going to set a text with a title, which is going to be our result from our array. So it's a self.tipamounts, and then we're going to access the selected index. and just put a percentage at the end. So if I click stop here, we need a space here, and let's try to resume this. We see if it appears here. Okay, I have footer here. I need a header, and now you see it transfers to a header here. And because now this is a different selection, but what we want to have is actually UI segmented selection. What we can do is to add parameter to our picker view, and we just change our picker style. So I say dot picker style, and here we can say segmented picker style, and we need to initialize it. And now you can see how it transforms to a segmented picker style. I just move it here so it's nice and aligned with our picker. And I'm going to put end of section. And now we're going to create our third section.